Okay, guys, so like we talked about, this is a radius because it's the distance from the center to the outside, being 14. To find the diameter, or the entire way across, you would multiply that by 2, or double it. So my diameter would be 28. So let me explain a couple things here when you're doing these. Okay, oops, sorry. So I like to use C equals pi d, because then you don't have to worry about the 2 and the r. You can do either one. I'll show you how you do it with the other one. It's just as simple. Okay, so you're always going to want to write your formula first on the first line of all of these. So if you have a couple extra index cards, we can put all these together. If not, keep it rolling on your loose leaf. Just draw the best you can, a circle, and label your radius and your diameter. Okay, there's only 4 of these, and then I'm going to have you guys do something a little bit different on your own after this with circles. And so I wrote my formula indicating that I knew I was being asked to find the circumference. So you want to write your formula. And all you got to do is, I'm trying to find circumference, C. Pi is that decimal. I can't change that. That's set in stone. It's that 3.14159. That's why we use the symbol, so we don't have to write out that decimal every time. Okay, times, because remember these are multiplied. So I'm going to use parentheses just because that's how I like to put it in the calculator. So I make sure the calculator does the order of operations in the correct order. Okay. So now I'm just going to plug in my diameter. Even though I wasn't given my radius, did you see how it took 3 seconds to think about our diameter? So let's plug in my 28. So all of these you're going to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. We should be getting pretty good at rounding by now. So all you're going to do in your calculator here is you're going to push your pi symbol. If you don't have a calculator with the pi symbol on at home, you can use the equivalent of 3.14159. Put as many decimals as you want. The more decimals, the closer you get. Okay, so a lot of times we can use 3.14. It's pretty easy. Pi, parenthesis, 28. Oops, sorry. Let's see if I can get that out of the shadow. Okay, close your parenthesis, and then you're pushing enter. So I'm going to get this long decimal, and that's why you're going to round to the nearest tenth every time. So I won't make you do this on every one, but here I'm going to show you to be sure you have rounding, okay, properly. 0.964 ... because it does go on. So if we're rounding to the nearest tenth, here's my tenth spot. If you were rounding to the nearest hundredth, it would be that digit. So I'm going to look what's behind it. Is this digit 5? Oops, sorry. Is this digit 5 or higher? The answer is yes. So this gets bumped up. Well, there's nothing higher than a 9 in a single digit here. So this is going to a 0, and that bumps that up to an 8. So my circumference would be 88 centimeters. So if this was my circle, okay, with the radius of 14 centimeters, the circumference, the distance around the outside, would be 88 centimeters. Does that make sense? Okay, so now over here, what part of the circle am I given for the circumference here? This is the entire distance across the circle going through the center. So that would be my diameter. So if my diameter is 24, let's just, for practice, what would my radius be? What would the distance from the center to just the outside be? Hopefully you divided this by 2 or multiplied by a half to get a radius of 12. Now we don't need that to solve for circumference because we can plug right in our diameter. But it's just good to know the difference between the 2 parts of your circle because you never know which piece you're going to get, a radius or a diameter. Okay, so I'm going to first start by writing my formula. Okay, I know this takes an extra 2 seconds, but that is going to be part of your credit, okay, to show that you knew to pick the correct formula. So circumference equals pi times diameter. So I was given my diameter, pi is that set number, of 24. So now I'm going to grab that handy dandy calculator, pi, parenthesis, 24. You're just multiplying pi times 24. Okay, and I'm getting 75.398 ... We'll continue to round to the nearest tenth. Here's my tenths digit. What's behind it is 5 or higher, so that's going to round it up to 75.4. And we're still talking about centimeters up here. So my circumference for this circle, the distance around the outside of this circle, would be 75.4 centimeters. Okay, so that's how we find circumference, distance around the outside. So with that, I wanted to go back real quick. Now you don't have to do this. If you said here, I want to use the formula 2 pi r. So I know my radius is 14. So I'm going to multiply 2 times pi times 14. Well, as you guys know, what is 2 times 14? It's 28. So that's why we kind of just did that quicker version with our diameter once you can tell the difference between these two. So you can put it all in your calculator. 2 times pi times 14. And we got that same answer, 87.964 ... as we did over here. So that is just as simple if you prefer to use that, okay? So talking about area now we're trying to find the space inside of these circles, okay? So once again, we want to practice here. What part of the circle are we given here? Hopefully you answered this is the diameter is 10. So what would my radius be? What would the distance from the center to the outside be? Hopefully you divided that by 2 to get a radius of 5. So remember, when we're finding area, what formula are we using? What's area start with? Hopefully you said A. So we're going to use the A equals pi times radius squared. Okay? Just a couple things. You do not by any means have to memorize these formulas, but just a little trick that I like to help kids. We say either cherry pie's delicious, apple pies are too, or some people like chocolate pies delicious, apple pies are too. Okay, just a quick little help to remember, little trick. Okay, so we're finding area here. So on area, there aren't two formulas. There's only one. So we're always going to need a radius. So if you're given a diameter, you got to do that little trick of dividing by 2 to find your radius. So area equals, pi is always going to stay put there because it's set, times my radius is 5 squared. Okay, so if you don't have a squared button on here, let me tell you what you're going to do. So pi, parenthesis 5 squared if you have the squared button, and enter. Okay, it will do all that for you. Let me take it out of the shadow. Okay, 78.539 ... We're going to still stay consistent with your 10th spot. Is what's behind it 5 or higher? The answer is no. So 78.5 would be the area. How do we label area? Remember, that's square units. In this case, our units are inches. So it's inches squared. You can write square inches as well. Either one of those is fine. So if you don't have that squared button, okay, 5 squared is just 5 times 5, okay? So you could easily put in your calculator pi, let me get that out of the shadow, times 5 times 5. And you would get the same answer as what we were doing there, okay? All right, so that's our first example of area, okay? Let's do one more example here, okay? What are we given here for number 4? What part of the circle are we given from the center just to the outside? Hopefully you answered that is our radius. What would our diameter be if you were looking for the entire distance across? Hopefully we answered 12, okay? Now, we're just looking to solve for area here. So all we need is the radius. All you got to do is plug it in on your second line. And now when you guys are getting to work, do you need to do this every single time? Nope, I did these on our notes just to be helpful and understand and help you understand where and how to round. So I'm going to throw my calculator, pi times 6 squared, or 6 times 6. Enter. Okay, nearest tenth. So if you look at your calculator, my tenth spot is 0. What's behind it is 5 or higher, so that's going to bump the 0 up to a 1. So 113.1, my units, inches squared. So really, guys, when you're doing any tasks this week on circles, okay, I want to see 3 lines worth of work. Which formula did you pick? Plugging in and solving and rounding properly with the correct units. Remember, circumference is the distance around it, so it's just centimeters. Area is the space inside, and that's square inches or whatever unit you were working with. Okay, so here's 4 examples. Okay, and what you guys are going to do now is I'm gonna upload 12 I'm gonna upload, let's see, 20 task cards. These should not take you long, okay? So if you want to create something on a piece of paper with 20 boxes, kind of like this, or you can just number them 1 through 20 and go as you please. What you're going to do is I have some task cards. They start off pretty easy, and then they go up and asks you circumference and area of different circle examples. Okay, so what I'm going to have you guys do is I'm going to have you guys complete it either on loose leaf, okay, or I'm going to upload a document, a Word document on Google Classroom that you can type in the boxes here. Just make sure you make a copy of it, okay? You are going to round all answers, if necessary, to the nearest tenth, okay? If you have any questions for this task, please feel free to shoot me an email. This is going to be your task for today. All right? Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.